This video is of a backpack I did with friends Tommy Pritchard and Steve Hancock. And the first picture shows where we're going, basically. The second one has some labels. It's one of the incredible views in the southern Appalachians, mountains and grassy balls everywhere. We're heading up to the Highlands of Roan. That's off to the right there, the high point of Roan Mountain. And up to the left, there's where we're going, to Grassy Ridge, which is where the grassy balls are. We're driving up to Carver's Gap, where we're going to start hiking, which is always crowded, maybe not quite as much today, it looks like. So we're starting at Carver's Gap, going up to First Round Knob on the Appalachian Trail, which is going up right there. And you can kind of see Round Knob. It's the high, rounded bald up there. Then Jane Bald, and then Grassy Ridge, where we're going to camp. Here's a topo map with our GPS track showing where we went, starting on the left at Carver's Gap and going to Grassy Ridge Gap on the bottom right. And here we're starting up from Carver's Gap as the AT heads up toward Round Bald, and that's the summit of Round Bald. I'm standing just below the summit of Round Bald at 5,826 feet, grassy bald, and looking toward Grassy Ridge. First there's Engine Gap right there, Jane Ball there, and then that's Grassy Ridge. And way out there is Little Hump, and then Big Hump. The Appalachian Trail crosses all of those. This is one of the fantastic, incredible views of the Southern Appalachians. And there's the AT, and the AT sign, which marks it as it heads northward or southward, depending on how you're going. We're going to camp up on Grassy Ridge up there, but on the gap, Grassy Ridge Gap, on the other side right there. Tommy and Steve are down there somewhere. That might be them right there. They're definitely ahead of me. Here the trail has descended to Engine Gap. There's an old engine relating to logging, I guess, here somewhere. And then we go up to Jane Bald, which is not bald anymore, but there's a big rock outcrop. And then over to Grassy Ridge, up there. Just passed a couple of guys who had a robot head and a big box they were carrying and a lot of film gear. And they had been filming a movie they're going to have on YouTube sometime in the future. And here's a still photograph of the robot head guys going on up the trail. And here the trail is nothing but rock as it climbs up to Jane Bald. It's not much of a ball, but there's a wonderful rock outcrop that provides great views, both back the way we came and the way we're going. Over there to the right, Grassy Ridge. And turning around, this is a favorite lunch spot if you get here around lunch. Looking back toward Round Bald, and beyond that, Roan Mountain. Carver's Gap is just on the other side of Round Bald there. The whole hike is only something under 3 miles, depending on where we camp. But there's some pretty good elevation gain, and I'm still not in good shape from my broken foot last year. But I'm struggling along. It's a beautiful day, nothing but blue sky pretty much, and some cumulus clouds here and there. So a good day for a short backpack with Tommy Pritchard and Steve Hancock. Here is the actual summit of Jane Ball, 5,807 feet. There's a little grass over there, but not much. Mainly the rock outcrops a couple hundred feet to the left. And not so far away is Grassy Bald. There's a lot more grass than is shown in this picture. The whole top is covered with open grassy balls. Here we've got a junction. The AT goes off to the left there, way out toward Big Bald, Big Hump, and Little Hump. Big Hump on the far side. Whereas the trail we're taking is a spur trail that goes up to Grassy Ridge up there. And then we'll be going on over to the other side of it. Some kind of threatening clouds. Hopefully the rain holds off. Finally, about 2.2 miles, the trail breaks out of the blackberry bushes and the small trees and the larger trees into grassy balls, which extend at least 200 yards, I guess, on southeast from this point. Although, as you can see, the blackberries are going to overtake the grassy balls if something isn't done about them. They mow them and graze them, but haven't been able to keep up with them. As we climb up Grassy Ridge, here's a great view of Big and Little Hump in the distance. There's the summit of Grassy Ridge, and off to the left, to the northeast, is a particularly nice view of Big Hump and Little Hump. Everything else is dark, but they're illuminated. There they are, Little Hump and Big Hump, overlooking 19E on the other side. I'm standing on the summit of Grassy Ridge at 6,165 feet. That's Roan Mountain and the Rhododendron Gardens over there. Another 6,000 footer. Out there is Jane Bald and Carver's Gap. And there, illuminated, is the route up to Grassy Ridge. I came up. Way over there is Big Hump and Little Hump. And wandering on around, I think that's Grandfather Mountain there. And on out there is more Grassy Bald. At least a good third of a mile or more of grassy balls. And completing a 360-degree view all the way around back to Roan Mountain there. Incredible views. That is Grandfather Mountain over there. Hard to mistake it. And to the left of it is a real eyesore. Condominiums at, I think, Sugar Mountain. That's the one thing that messes up the view from up here. And to their credit, after they built those, North Carolina passed a law prohibiting multi-story buildings like that at a higher elevation like that one is. At the southeast end of Grassy Ridge, I came upon Tom and Steve, and they were looking for the trail down to the gap, and I went on ahead on the old trail. It's really grown up, and was worried I might find a bunch of tents down here, but here it is, Grassy Ridge Gap. And don't see a single tent. There's a tent back up behind me, but and there's a guy up there looking around on the rocks, but it looks like a perfect campsite, assuming we find water, and there should be water way up high, 6,000 feet above the valley down there. As I'll explain a bit more later, we ended up camping separately, as this map will show. Me down in the gap and Tommy and Steve up above at the edge of the Bald. They had to come down to the gap to get water, as I knew where there was a nice spring. We walked down to the spring together, and here they are. And here's the spring, just a perfect, clean, clear, strong spring. What'd you say for the movie?
I said, that's beautiful.
And?
can't beat spring water.
Right, right. And what do you say about it, Steve?
Awesome.
What do you say?
Awesome. It's wet now, it's wet. Cold
Wet and cold, all right.
And all water's wet. It's valley good. I bet you could just drink it.
Okay, Tommy on the left, Steve on the right. Just got water, now they're off to their camp on top of Grassy Bald.
Bye, y'all.
See you later.
Yeah. I ain't even there.
Okay.
You want to get your picture?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks for showing us where the water was.
Okay. Well, here's my home for the night. Tommy and Steve are camped up on the other side of those trees there on Grassy Ridge Bald. They didn't want to come on down, and probably should have, because this is about perfect. This big grassy gap. We just got back from getting water on the other side over there. Great views that way and this way, except the fog has come in, or clouds, and no views, and an incredible rock over there for setting and cooking, and even protected from the wind if it comes from the northwest as usual. So, a really good spot. Well, I'm camped just a bit below 6,000 feet, below Grassy Ridge Bald, in Grassy Ridge Gap. And as I mentioned, it's just an absolutely perfect place. And the weather's cooperating. There was a lot of fog and clouds, but there's no wind, and now there's a little blue sky up there even. And as mentioned, I'm surrounded by a grassy bald. There's my tent, and just a perfect place. That's a perfect place to sit. Actually, I changed clothes somewhat on that and took off my socks and boots. And up here is just a perfect place to sit. I don't even need something ground cloth to sit on. So I'm cooking dinner. Tonight is good to go. Classic marinara with pasta, one of the better ones that they make. And also a Trader Joe's chocolate bar with almonds, some Crystal Light green tea, mango peach tea, some bouillon, and I'm not sure whether I'll eat these or not, some calamari olives from Trader Joe's also. And amazingly, it was so cloudy, but now the sun is out on the Bald. And lots of blue sky, so we picked a perfect weekend. Again, Tommy and Steve are camped up on Grassy Ridge, the edge of it actually, the edge of the trees above me, behind me. They got here before me and really had picked out where they wanted to camp, and they didn't like the trail coming down here. It's a pretty rough trail and wasn't real clear actually. But anyway, they're camping up there. They came down and we got water together at the spring. I showed them where it's at. I've camped here many times, all seasons, winter when it's all covered with snow. One night when the winds were so high, they broke the bones, I started to say. They broke the poles in my tent. And I had to move the tent up in the woods and tie it up some. But it's a beautiful spot, and the views are just incredible. I mean, that's right there as good as it gets. And then when it's clearing up, which it is on the other side, again, you can see Grandfather Mountain and Big Hump and Little Hump and all along the AT there. So it's a beautiful place. So as the sun sets, there's some really good cloud shows and actually a good sunset. That cloud down there has been going in and out. And up above is a very nice half moon, and last is a still photo of the half moon. And there's lots of color in the sky, but to the west is where it's really good. Right there, that's the prettiest view. That's looking back toward Carver's Gap, where we came from. And the sunset keeps changing, of course, as the clouds change. And here's a couple of still photos of what was a wonderful, wonderful sunset for sure. Well, it's only around 8:45, but it's dark. And so I'm headed to the tent. And need a flashlight to get there, actually. A lot of moisture from the clouds that have gone through on the grass. And here we are, my abode for the night. Well, the night was a really windy affair, but my tent held up pretty well. Very well, no problems at all. Very wet too, although it didn't rain much, but a lot of condensation and clouds, I guess. And here's the sunrise, a little after 7 o'clock. But the tent was flapping all night long. And here is the sunrise. Still photo of the sunrise. Well, it's around 8 o'clock in the morning. A really blustery night. Hard winds blew all night long. But an incredible morning. Sunny and dry. And pretty soon all the moisture from condensation last night will be gone. I'm standing in the middle of Grassy Ridge Gap. Over there's my tent. And just to the left where I cook. And down in the valley is a wonderland of clouds and peaks, blue mountains. Beautiful view down below Grassy Ridge looking to the southwest, I guess. Having breakfast, which the best part is going to be oatmeal with fresh picked blueberries, orange juice, Swiss Miss hot chocolate, a Nutrigrain bar. But probably the best thing about breakfast is the view that I have down in the valley there, the clouds and the blue mountains all down below. The weather's always changing up here. Now it's socked in almost with fog, and fog is coming through the gap. And the sun is up there in the fog. So just a little after 9, I'm leaving this perfect camp spot. My cooking area, my tent site, this little gap, Grassy Ridge Gap between that little peak over there and big grassy ridge up there. And looking to where we're going, which is out there. Looking back at Grassy Ridge Gap, and right here is where I picked the blueberries. Still some in there, you can't see them. They're pretty tiny but very tasty. And here are some of the blueberries on the bush. And a topo map with a GPS track of our route out, the same as we came in. I get back up to where Tommy and Steve are camped, and there's Tommy's camp. And Steve was camped right here last night. Great place, rocks. I'm looking out over the valley. But the wind caused him in the middle of the night to get up and move his tent. So Tommy, for the camera, how was the wind last night?
Brutal. Fucking brutal.
Yeah, Steve's tent was flattened almost, he said.
I do not know how my tent held up, but I'm very proud of it.
It was just flapping around a lot, I guess.
I came back from the bridge out here looking at the view.
Yeah.
9 o'clock. I turned around to come back. There was so much fog here I couldn't even see my tent.
Whoa.
I got back in my tent from 9 o'clock. At midnight I checked it. Oh, the wind's still blowing. 3 o'clock this morning I checked it. Oh, the wind's still blowing. And somewhere between 3 and 7 I got a couple hours sleep.
Well,
it was crazy.
I have never had 2 good days up here straight like we're having. But we had a bad night, so I guess that makes up for it.
How did it affect you down there?
Just it flapped a lot. My tent was okay, but it flapped all night long. And I finally got used to it and went to sleep. Here's the morning view of the hike out. Down there, Jane Bald and Round Knob, the big grassy area. Carver's Gap on the other side, and there's Roan Mountain. From the top of Grassy Ridge Bald. Here's an interesting family. That little boy is 3.5 years old, and they all hiked in from Carver's Gap, just like us. Camped on Grassy Ridge. I think it was just them. One other tent and us were up there. And the parents are carrying an incredibly heavy packs, of course, and the mother is also carrying a baby. And they had a dog that was carrying water. Yeah, you'll probably be gone by the time I get there.
I love it.
So have a good hike out.
All right, you too,
I'm on Round Knob. Over there's where we came from. Well, I just spent a half an hour down beyond those trees looking for a GPS I lost when I was up here a month or so ago, using weed eaters with the Roney boys and the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy to clear some of the blackberries. Didn't find it, and so I'm heading back down now to Carver's Gap, which is in the distance there, on an old road maybe, but anyway, it's kind of a 2-tracked mashed down grass that goes straight down rather than the trail, which is up to my right, and is quite a bit longer. So heading back. Well, I'm just about to Carver's Gap, about 12:30, after a wasted detour to look for my old Garmin Fortrex 501 GPS that I lost in the weeds and grass somewhere on the side of Round Bald. Just about to the parking lot, and here's the tunnel just before we get to the parking lot.